Here is our tutorial for how to make a graph on Microsoft Excel. So if you have Excel, I'd prefer to use Excel for doing graphs just because it's a lot more intuitive. But if you don't have Excel, I'm going to make another tutorial for how you would do it on Google Sheets, which is a free program and it can also graph. Okay, so this is the video for how to make a graph in Excel. So in today's lab, I ask you to make a graph that would compare two locations for rainfall patterns in Hawaii. I believe the island is Kauai in Hawaii. So we are only interested in the summer months because summer months is when you get the least amount of rain. We want to choose a location that would have the most amount of rain during the summer months so that it can maintain wildlife during dry season. Okay, so the first thing I recommend you to do when you get data like this, you can see location 1 and location 2. When you get data like this, there's a lot of numbers and it can get confusing. So I'm only interested in the summer months. So what I'm going to do is just highlight the summer months here, okay, for location 1. And to make it more visually easy to see, I'm going to choose this paint bucket and I'm going to color it a light gray. There you go. And so I'm going to look at location 2, just the summer months as well. And so to highlight that, let's put that a light gray. So those are the only data points that we are interested. And I'm asking you to plot the average rainfall amount during June, July, and August for each location. So the great thing about Excel is that you don't have to use a calculator. Excel will calculate for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask Excel to add all the data points together, because if you remember, in order to figure out the average, you have to add up all the data points and divide it by the total number of data points you have. So in this case, we're going to take all the numbers that were collected during the summer months, and you can see there are 6 data points. So we add those 6 up and then divide the total by 6. So the first thing is to figure out the total during summer. Okay, so I'm just going to label that total during summer so I know what this number represents. And now I'm going to tell Excel to add up the total. What you would do is look for the equal sign in your keyboard and type it. You see my equal sign is right there. Then I go to the cell with the piece of data I want. So equals this number that's highlighted. And then you look for the plus sign. You put plus. Go to the next number you want to add, plus, and the next number, plus, next number, plus, next number, until, oops, I don't want that one, so I'm going to go back up here. That's the number I want. And then that's 6 numbers that I want added up together, and they are highlighted there. So if you look here, you'll see all of those 6 numbers represented. The number in cell B9, which is B9, as well as a number in B10, and so forth. So I've got all my 6 numbers, and then I press enter. That's going to give me my total for those 6 numbers that represent the summer months, which is great. Now, in order to do the average, I'm not done. So for average, I'm going to put average here, and that's going to designate, or that's going to tell me that this cell represents the average. Now, if you look at the font in average, you could see it looks different than the font that I use for total during summer. So if you don't like the way it looks, what you can do is go to a cell that you like the font in. So I like this one. And then I'm going to have this paintbrush. Press the paintbrush format painter, and it's going to copy all the formatting. So I want the formatting to be the same in this one. So I press that one and ta-da, I've got the same format. So it looks the same now as this cell because I had it copy the paint from there. Okay, now the average is you take your total divided by 6 because you've got 6 values. So we start off, whenever we tell Excel to calculate something, we always press equal. Okay, so there's my equal sign. I wanted to take the total number. Total number is right here. So I select this number and it automatically will highlight it. And I want to divide it by 6. So to divide, it's the backslash. Okay, so backslash. And then I wanted to divide by 6, so I'm just going to type 6. Now I've got my average. Great. And we could do the exact same thing for the total in location number 2. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, and put that label there. And then I also want to figure out the average, so Control C and put that Control V over here. Now, to figure out the total for location 2, I do a similar thing. You start off by telling Excel to do a calculation by pressing equal. Then you take the numbers that you want to add together and select them. Select each number and then add a plus. So 18 plus the next number, plus next number, plus. Keep pressing plus until you get to your 6th value, and then you're done. Don't press plus after your last selection because Excel will be confused. Okay, so now I've got all 6 numbers, and the equation here says add the number in the cell F9, the one in F10, so on and so forth. And then I press enter, and that gives me the total during the summer months. But what I want is the average. So to calculate the average again, we tell Excel, use equals, take the total number, select the total, and then divide it by, with a backslash, number 6. Excellent. See, we've got our averages, which is what we need to use to calculate, to plot out in our graph. Okay, now how do I tell Excel to graph? Well, Excel kind of figures things out based on the order in which you put your data. So if you have 2 columns, the left column is assumed to be the x-axis and the right column is assumed to be the y-axis. So on the left side, I'm going to put the independent variable for this particular graph, which is the location. So I'm going to put location 1, and then I also want it to graph location 2, and that's going to represent the x-axis. Now, for what I wanted to plot is the average rainfall. So location 1's average, I'm going to put an equal here, and that equals to this number that I calculated earlier. Location 2, same thing. I'm going to have location equal to the average number that I calculated earlier. All right, so now we've sorted out the order in which we'd like Excel to graph. We're going to highlight that data. We're going to right click, and then we're going to go to Quick Analysis. And you see there are different types of things, and we want a chart. So from charts, you can choose any one of these graphs, but I want you to do a bar graph. So we'll do more. And you could see here is a bar graph. There are other versions, but I like this bar graph. I'd like you to do a bar graph. So we select this bar graph, press OK, and there it is. Now you've got your chart created for you, and you can kind of figure things out on your own. First of all, I want you to have a chart title. So highlight that chart title and type rainfall pattern in Kauai. Okay, and then I want you to also try to put a label for the y-axis. Okay, so axis titles. And now we can label this one rainfall in centimeters. And I'm not very happy about how small that is in terms of font. So I'm going to press the escape button, and you see how it highlights the whole thing. And then I'm going to go to home and press on this big A. And if I press on the big A, it means increase the font size. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to keep it like that. Now for the y-axis, I'm going to change that to location in Kauai, something like that. Okay, and I want to select the entire box to make the font larger. So I'm going to press escape, and you can see this -9 becomes solid. That means the whole box is selected. Look for your big A, increase that font size. Now I feel like I can read it better. Let's do the same for rainfall pattern. It's already selected by a solid line, so the whole thing is selected. Increase the font by pressing the big A. That's pretty good. Okay, so now that we've gotten that, we can go ahead and copy it by pressing copy and then move it into our Word document. Here's my Word document, which is your Lab 1 write-up. And in here, I've asked you to go ahead and paste your graph for the average summer rainfall. So I copied it. Now I can right click and paste. And I like to put this here, which is to paste it as a picture. And it's here. It's very big. So we can change the size by dragging the corner. And now you have it saved as a graph in your lab write-up.